You're listening to Systemic Error Podcast. The failure was designed.
Demands grow for facts on how Trump's reflecting pool lie was cooked up, based on an article by Nick Hilden. The vandalism lie was not a mistake. Power wrote the story. This was never just about damage to a reflecting pool. The real question is who had the power to turn a contractor failure into a criminal case. According to the source material, Interior Department officials knew the problem traced to a rushed and flawed installation process, while Trump publicly insisted it was vandalism and prosecutors moved on that claim. That is the chain of power. The executive branch invents the story, the bureaucracy launders it, and the legal system punishes the wrong people. The victims here were not only David Hearn and the others whose cases were dropped. The larger victim was the truth itself, bent to fit presidential theatrics and then enforced as if it were evidence. The lie was cooked up, then federally distributed. Senators Sheldon Whitehouse and Martin Heinrich are asking the right question: how did this story get made, and who fed it to Trump? But the important point is already visible in the record. The Interior Department had internal documentation pointing to bad installation. The department still publicly blamed vandals. Trump repeated and escalated the claim. Justice eventually acknowledged the internal information had not been shared and dropped the cases. That is not confusion. That is institutional misdirection. The lie did not simply spread on its own. It traveled through offices that had the authority to check it, correct it, or kill it. They chose not to. Contractors made the error. Officials made it political. The source makes the underlying facts plain. The damage came from a rushed and flawed installation process, with repeated lining failures and extensive peeling. That is a boring technical failure. Bureaucracies are supposed to distinguish boring failures from political enemies. Instead, interior officials let a technical problem be recast as a moral crime. That matters because once the state labels a failure as vandalism, it stops being a maintenance issue and becomes a target. Trump got to perform outrage. Prosecutors got to act on it. The people accused of vandalism got dragged into a case built on a false premise. The state did not just misread the evidence, it weaponized a bad story. Burgum kept selling a debunked claim. The source says Interior Secretary Doug Burgum continued pushing the debunked vandalism story even after justice found the department had known the damage came from faulty installation. That should end the conversation about whether this was an innocent misunderstanding. A secretary who repeats a false accusation after the facts have collapsed is not confused. He is providing political cover. He is preserving the authority of a narrative that serves the president's ego and the department's self-protection better than it serves reality. And that is the deeper scandal. The public face of the department was not truth, but obedience. The watchdog is not the system. Whitehouse and Heinrich are asking the Inspector General for an immediate investigation. Fine. But the source also notes the Inspector General is not bound to open one. That detail matters because it exposes the weak point in the entire accountability theater. Oversight is often optional, delayed, or politely declined. So the scandal is not only that officials may have misled the president, it is that the machinery built to prevent exactly this kind of abuse can simply decide not to bite. When the truth depends on an office's discretion, power still controls the outcome. The pattern is state-blended propaganda. This story fits a familiar pattern. A trivial or technical failure becomes a crime. A stronger actor assigns blame downward. The bureaucracy protects the leader's preferred fiction. The Justice Department eventually retreats only after the damage is done. Then everyone acts surprised that the case was baseless. That pattern is not an accident of personnel. It is how authoritarian politics works inside ordinary institutions. Invent an enemy, attach law enforcement to the lie, and let the weaker target absorb the punishment. The reflecting pool was not the real target. The real target was the idea that the government can make a story true by repeating it loudly enough. You've been listening to Systemic Error. Thanks to Alternet for today's article, with the automated voice of Amy. Thanks for listening.